Welcome back to Dark Discoveries. I am your host, Dustin, and as always, I'm here with
Jimbo.
You're always here until I just crack one off by myself. So I'm always, well, you're a liar is what you are.
I don't think you've ever cracked one off by yourself.
Well, I may get bored and do something by myself one day. I'm sure.
And I'll still edit it in like, I'm here.
I'm sure people will just line up to hear me by myself. At least Sean will. But music is a very interesting thing. There's songs and artists that I think it's lost, but is there a song that you heard for the first time that like really, or an artist that really just drew you in and you knew you heard something special the moment you heard it?
Well, I'm not a big music person. You know this.
Yeah, all your music that you play is all from like 2005.
Mine's from like the 50s.
Well, the 50s to 2005. It just stops in 2005.
Yeah, because that's when real music stopped being made. Touche?
No. There's still good music. You have to seek it. Like the bad
that's
part
the problem, though.
The bad part is you will find music that the world may never hear. So the intro was done by a band called The Stir, which turned into a band called Like Machines, which I became friends with, and is the greatest rock and roll band, 3-piece rock and roll band you will ever hear. Unfortunately, they are now defunct, but the music still lives on and it's always going to be there. But that was a band that you've seen. And it's funny when we talked to Alex Stiff on the show, who is another musician who played with them on the same card, was just wowed the moment he heard it. And another band or an artist that really hit me, because man, music isn't what it was when you listen to music from the 60s and 70s and with headphones, and it worked up until the 90s, but you get a guitar picking up on the left side or something, and then music or another noise coming from the right. Beats headphones, for like when that came out, that was like the first really good quality headphones. You kind of got that feeling again with even newer music. Like, man, this is how you're supposed to listen. And that's a lost art, I think. But one of the greats at that is who we're going to talk about tonight. And that was Jimi Hendrix. Like, I don't think musically, that's one of the first real, I heard him as a teenager, as a young kid that probably shouldn't have been listening to it. It really resonated with just the sound, the music, the whole package just kind of was larger than life. I know Nirvana kind of hit that same feel on grunge music, really launching that in the early 90s. Everybody's going to have a different story. So if you're in the Facebook group, why don't you drop a line on who musically changed your life? Email us, darkdiscoveriespod@gmail.com, because I'd love to hear it. I say I love it, but I love to find new music, but I'm very picky on what I listen to. It's just got to be good. It has to resonate, especially when you get an artist that writes and sings their own music. They're not buying the song from somewhere. That's when it hits different. And Jimi Hendrix was one of those guys that, man, he was a total package. And to think how quick he came in and was gone is unbelievable. But the story of Jimi Hendrix is one of those unparalleled in the musical world. He was innovative, and his meteoric rise to global superstardom is unmatched. And then his sudden death has fueled speculations and conspiracy theories for half a century now. One of the early members of the 27 Club, which this will kind of fall in there, but it's not really so much 27 Club based, but it's more conspiracy because there's just a lot going on here. But to really understand the profound questions around his demise, you must first grasp who the man was and the era that he so powerfully embodied. Jimi Hendrix was born James Marshall Hendrix in Seattle, Washington on November 27th, 1942. Jimmy's life was marked with poverty in a chaotic home environment, especially fueled by the loss of his mother. music became a sanctuary and eventually his destiny. He was entirely self-taught on the guitar. He would learn by ear, and often, as the story goes, is he had a right-handed guitar, but he was left-handed, so he strung it upside down to make it work for being left-handed. And it was just so fitting for him and his approach on how to play the instrument. His formative years were spent honing his craft on the demanding Chitlin circuit, which was backing rhythm and blues luminaries like the Isley Brothers and Little Richard. This grueling apprenticeship provided him with an unparalleled foundation in stage presence, improvisation, and a deep understanding of American music roots. This guy sacrificed guitars and basically made love to guitars on stage. It's just, if you've never watched live videos of Jimi Hendrix, go watch it, man. It's something you're never going to see again. There's never going to be somebody as genuine to the craft as he was, because everybody's going to now copy him and try to take pieces that, and that's the greatest form of flattery, is to take a little bit of this artist and that one and blend it all together. But man, he was so authentic in himself. It was unbelievable. So what really started to push Jimmy into
stardom,
that ascent to stardom, was when he met Chaz Chandler, who was the original bassist of the Animals in 1966. He found him in a nightclub in New York. Chandler was captivated by Hendrix's raw talent. He'd bring him to London, and there the Jimi Hendrix Experience was born, with British musicians Noel Redding on bass and Mitch Mitchell on drums. Chaz Chandler would kind of become his manager and kind of oversee everything. Their arrival to the U.S. ignited the psychedelic rock scene, immediately captivating contemporaries like the Beatles, the Who. Their debut single, which, man, can you imagine having a debut single as good as Hey Joe? Like, it's just, like I said, he quickly ripped through the charts in early 1967, and he followed that by Purple Haze and The Wind Cries Mary. The seminal Are You Experience, the album, was released that summer with a sonic explosion, instantly establishing Hendrix as a visionary. You still don't look like you're drawn in. Like, you should be excited for this.
I'm not a music person.
Man, I got another one, but they'll be able to tell which episode it is. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I got another one I'm just as passionate about.
Elvis Presley.
No, it's not music. It's not music. I'll give you that.
Oh, okay.
His iconic performances at the Monterey International Pop Festival in June of 1967 was huge, culminating in the fiery sacrifice of his Fender Stratocaster. And this was just another thing that launched him into superstardom in the United States. He continued to push artistic boundaries with Axis, Bold as Love, and the expansive double LP Electric Ladyland, showcasing his mastery of studio production and his increasingly complex arrangements. Live, Hendrix was a I can't even pronounce this word. He was just an unstoppable force. His performances were legendary, and the improvisation with unparalleled showmanship. He didn't rehearse this. It wasn't choreographed. He just went out there and did it. And the groundbreaking use of feedback, fuzz, and the wah-wah pedal, effects that become integral extensions of his musical voice. He transcended and deconstructed the rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner, which another thing that it's so iconic that he did at Woodstock in 1969.
I was saying, he was at Woodstock.
Yep.
Didn't he play for like over 2 hours or something crazy?
Man,
I think so.
Woodstock is something that I really want to dive into as well, because there was a lot of cool stuff and a lot of dark, a lot of luck. Like, that was a shit show from the start, and somehow
became legendary.
It was a shit show that a crap ton of people showed up to, and it should have been a disaster, and it probably was to a point, but it's so iconic, and you can go back and just stop what you're doing. Well, don't stop. Keep listening. When you're done with this
especially
episode,
if you're driving. Right?
if you were listening to this, go look up Woodstock. Look at how much the artists were paid. Look at that compared to today's time. And then look into some of the videos, because they have like the whole recording of everything that came to the PA on like CDs and stuff. So you get to hear like and see everything. It's just, that was probably unparalleled for the time. And it was, just, man, imagine if you were lucky enough to be there, like just to witness greatness in the rawest form. And like I said, that rendition of Star Spangled Banner, I don't see that as being disrespectful. I see it for the time, it was probably super controversial, but I see it as his rendition is just pure. It's like how you sing it, you can sing all the words, but it's how you sing it and how you carry the notes. And for him to just play it and go as long as he did, it was very much, in a troubling time with the Vietnam War and everything. So just look into the background of that. That's just one of those things that's absolutely phenomenal. He fused blues and jazz and rock music, all with soul, into a singular explosive sound that forever changed the landscape of music and how you play the electric guitar. And to think about the musicians that he inspired is countless. It's still going on. There's still going to be kids that hear him for the first time now in 2026 and be like, I want to play the guitar. You got these kids that maybe vinyl's making a comeback, that maybe goes in the attic and pulls out their parents' old records, and they're pulling out the Beatles.
Goes and sells them. That's what
hopefully
happen.
Not the attic, because I think the attic may warp them.
Yeah.
But, there are the vintage sound and the pop and the crack and everything, that the music, like I said, coming in on the left and the right side with the speakers and all that was just, it's something that's lost. But when those kids, vinyl, it blows my mind cassette tapes are making a comeback, because I don't know what cassette tapes really offer other than just nostalgia. But the experience of vinyl with these kids pulling out these records and playing and listening is hopefully going to push music in a direction that can maybe regain some of its credibility. Because if you have a computer and a laptop and a microphone, you can make music, and it doesn't mean it's good music. And anybody can put music on the internet and get it on all these different platforms that probably doesn't need to be there. So it's easier than ever. But when you're really good, it's so easy to hopefully be found and discovered and blow up. And there's a lot of stuff that happens today that we're not hip to, because it's not our style. But Jimi Hendrix probably wasn't their style in the 60s. You got the clean cut. You got, the Beatles on there, which they just look clean cut on the outside. But you had this whole counterculture movement going on. And, man, it's just, I'm just speechless still. I can't really go on with you. If it was wrestling or movies, you'd be right back at me. But you not being a music fan, you can't feed off of me. But you got to remember, too, when these guys went out and played, I am looking for anybody who has an authentic Jimi Hendrix concert poster from the Delaware County Fairgrounds in Muncie, Indiana, who wants to give it away, because I can't afford to buy it. That's like a holy grail piece to think about. My little town, like I said, 60,000 people, whatever. 1969 was probably a little bit more because of all the factories. But to think that Jimi Hendrix, Elvis Presley, and Johnny Cash did the same thing. They played county fairs, and they were on the road all the time. They're probably doing double shots most days. When you're out on tour, you're going to hit an afternoon show and an evening show. You may play in Muncie, then you may play in Indianapolis that evening, and then you drive to the next town and you do the same thing. It's a grueling thing, and I know these guys got tired of playing the same thing over and over and over, and I think that's why the music was so much better, because they were making music they loved and they wanted to play, and it come from the heart. But all these little towns, I don't think they were ready. In rural farm areas were ready for what they were going to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it's 1969 and you got the Jimi Hendrix experience rolling into town. There's probably a lot of places that they weren't welcome.
There's probably still a lot of sundown towns at that time too.
Yeah, and Indiana had quite a few. And I was surprised by seeing some of the places that were.
Mm-hmm.
And that were in, half an hour distance, possibly hour from where these shows were happening in Indiana. But through it all, they still went out there and performed no matter what they were facing. You may not know if you're going to walk out there. Somebody may try to attack you. You'd never know. And drugs were kind of, you're in this hippie counterculture movement as well during like Vietnam. So there's a lot going on in the world. And I think this was probably a breath of fresh air, even though the hippie movement wasn't for everybody. I think it was probably a breath of fresh air. So this is where, oh, hold on. I'm not ready for that part yet. I'm sorry. I got way off on tangent. So by the summer of 1970, the relentless pace had really taken a toll. Hendrix was utterly exhausted. He suffered from chronic insomnia. He was in ill health and burdened by the complex personal relationships and the convoluted business affairs. Yet he yearned for greater creative control and was increasingly disillusioned with his longtime manager, Michael Jeffrey. So forever, since we had time, I think musicians were kind of taken advantage of by managers and record labels. Just look at Elvis and Colonel Parker.
Colonel Parker, yep.
That's a whole other thing to go down to because Elvis stole most of his music. And I don't know if he ever really paid due to where he got it from. But he just poured an immense amount of resources into establishing his Electric Lady Studios in New York. A testament to his ambition and artistic, visions. He's looking to make this a long-term thing. But things start to change, and unfortunately, on the night of September 17th, 1970, Jimi Hendrix was in London with his girlfriend, Monica Danneman. Their evening involved wine, which was common for Hendrix to his chronic insomnia, and with insomnia, he would take some sleeping pills. And approximately 11:45 on September 18th, 1970, in his sleep, Jimi Hendrix would choke on his own vomit, and he would later be pronounced dead at the St. Mary Abbot Hospital in London. The official cause of death was determined by the coroner, Gavin Thurston, as asphyxia due to aspiration of vomit, contributed to barbiturate to toxicity. Man, words are hard, and that goes out to my buddy Webster if he's listening, and Deshaun Lehman from Mako. Words are hard.
Stay in school. That's the T-shirt we're making.
They were always hard and always will be hard. But the verdict was real kind of open, meaning that the medical cause of death was established. The precise sequence of events and the full circumstances surrounding his death could not be definitively determined from the evidence that was presented. This ambiguity is a crack through which all subsequent theories have emerged through. So I'm going to cover some things. There's a lot going on in this time. We talked about Hendrix wanting more creative freedom, and he's setting himself up to probably go out on his own. He's big enough at the time. So that is a theory that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. So just hang on. So some of the key facts and points from the official record is the barbiturate was Vesperex. This was a powerful German sleeping tablet prescribed to Danneman, so his girlfriend. She claimed Hendrix took 9 tablets, which is an incredibly high dose. Each tablet roughly equated to 3 standard sleeping pills. and you hit the microphone stand and you mess me up. You always talk about me.
Sorry.
You always talk about me making noise. So with 9 pills that equal 3, on the other side, this means he ingested 18 times the recommended dosage. His physical state, Hendrix was found unresponsive, having vomited and aspirated the contents into his lungs. The time of death, while pronounced dead at 11:45, the exact time he became unresponsive and died points to contention due to conflicting accounts. So we're going to get into some of these theories. The open verdict and immediate inconsistency surrounding his death become fertile grounds for such theories, each attempting to fill the voids left by the official uncertainties. The first theory is an accidental overdose, this is the official stance, but it's left some doubt. This is the conclusion that the coroner leaned towards, suggesting a tragic miscalculation or unfortunate reaction to the substances. He had known drug use and insomnia. Hendrix's history with drug use, including cannabis, LSD, and various sedatives for insomnia, make an accidental drug overdose plausible. He was often sleep deprived and self-medicated. The combination of potent barbiturates like Vesparax, I believe is how you're going to say it, with alcohol, they reportedly shared wine, is known to dangerously amplify sedatives' effects, increasing the risk of respiratory depression and the ability to react when vomiting. And then you have his girlfriend's accounts that they maintained publicly for decades that it was an accidental drug overdose, although her private accounts were far less consistent. So she maybe didn't repeat the same things every time she was talked to. So some of the inconsistencies on her narrative is what drives a lot of that skepticism. You see some of these words, and I say this every episode, they just don't look like how they sound. The skepticism regarded in a straightforward accident. We have conflicting timelines. Danneman provided numerous contradictory timelines for when she discovered Hendrix was unwell, and more critically, when she called for medical help. Accounts vary from immediately calling an ambulance to waiting several hours. I'm sure at that time, minutes feel like hours, hours feel like minutes, and you're panicking. There's a lot going on. You have feelings for this person because you're dating them and they're dead. You may have other illegal substances that you may have to get rid of because it may implement you into something.
Well, it just depends.
There's a lot going on.
Was she asleep when this happened? Was she drunk? Passed out?
There's a lot. There's a lot going on. So what was absent from the scene, ambulance attendant Reg Jones unequivocally stated that when he and his partner arrived to the flat, which is an apartment when you're over in London, it was empty except for Hendrix's body. Danneman later claimed she was present and even rode in the ambulance, a claim directly refuted by emergency services personnel who confirmed Hendrix was dead on arrival at the hospital and Danneman was not present in the ambulance. Maybe she was on some mind-altering drugs.
Could be.
For the time and the people, it's not impossible. Danneman claims she cleaned up vomit and changed Hendrix's clothes before the ambulance arrived. I love my wife, but I don't know if I want to touch her dead.
I don't know if I'd trust my wife after she puked all over her.
Well, you know what happens after you die.
Yeah.
Your bowels flush themselves. Seems like well thought out of what's kind of going on. Like that's the last thing you're probably worried about. Like, especially if you're dating. If it's your wife, I could see like, let me put them in something more dignifiable. Give them some more dignity than being here like this. But there's a lot more that goes on. So that's probably not your first thing that you're worried about.
Now, when they said an empty flat, does that mean that there was like no furniture or nothing, or does that just mean that there was like nobody home but Hendrix?
I wonder if it was, if you're renting it, it's probably bare bones, and I'm guessing nobody else there. That's kind of that made me wonder. So I'm almost going to dive down the rabbit hole if there's crime scene photos. But so it was described that Jimmy, as being heavily soiled with vomit and red wine, suggests when they got his body, there was minimal cleanup. This raises the question, why would she claim to clean him up if she didn't? Jimmy's attire, paramedics, and medical staff noted Hendrix was fully clothed and flamboyantly at that. So this is the king of psychedelic rock, and it may be 1970, but it's still 1968, 1969. And if Jimi Hendrix is walking down the street, he's going to look like Jimi Hendrix. He's not going to look like he's going to, blend in. According to one doctor, Martin Seifert, Seifert, who treated him at the hospital, not in pajamas or sleepwear, despite being found on a made bed. This clashes with the idea of simply somebody falling asleep after taking some sleeping pills. So, Vesparax, the potency and speed. Vesparax was an extremely powerful, slow-acting barbiturate. Critics argue that a person taking such a massive dose would likely fall unconscious very quickly. If he then vomited, aspiration would be almost immediate. The suggested time lags in Dannemann's stories don't always align with the drug's known effects, which, let's be honest, side effects and the way things kick in are different. Especially, I'm guessing, I don't know if there's I know with melatonin, your body gets a tolerance to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know how it would be on a very potent sleeping pill. I hear that sleeping pills are very addictive, and I'm sure your body builds tolerance to it. So if he's taking those over a long period of time, may not be so hard to take so many. So furthermore, it's questioned if 9 Vesparax tablets alone, even with alcohol, would lead to such a swift and absolute incapacitation and death, given Hendrix's reported tolerance, like I just said. You have theory number 2, which this doesn't make any sense to me. Suicide. This theory posits that Hendrix deliberately ended his own life. Arguments sometimes, advanced. There was emotional distress. Hendrix was undoubtedly under immense pressure. He was creatively restless, exhausted, and constantly touring. Embroiled in a complex financial and legal disputes, he reportedly felt exploited by his manager. Some of the later lyrics and conversations expressed a sense of weariness, disillusionment, and a desire to escape. You have the 27 Club. This kind of the tragic coincidence of several influential musicians like Brian Jones, Janis Joplin, John Morrison, all dying at age 27 in a short span of time, led to a retrospective narrative of self-destruction for those within this club. So, did he commit suicide to be a part of this club? I don't see it.
Well, and Dustin, just to answer your question, there are no official crime scene photos of Jimi Hendrix, as in images of his body at the Samarkand Hotel where he died. They've never been released to the public because his death was officially ruled as an accidental asphyxiation rather than a homicide. The scene was not treated with the same forensic photographic scrutiny as a murder investigation. So,
and you can see that for the time, and giving the lifestyle an accidental drug overdose is completely possible. These guys all lived and partied hard. They indulged in a lot of different drugs, and the culture was very, very different. So the strong arguments against suicide, the coroner's findings. Crucially, the coroner's report explicitly stated there was no evidence of suicidal intent, future plans, and ambition. Despite his weariness, Hendrix was actively planning his future. He had just realized a lifelong dream of opening the state-of-the-art Electric Lady Studio in New York. Man, imagine, like, if he'd have survived, like, how cool, like, how much different would the music be? Like, he's seen that vision. Man, we were robbed. He was excited about new musical directions, jamming with new musicians like Mitch Mitchell and Billy Cox. They had future touring dates already booked. This forward-looking mindset fundamentally contradicts deliberate decision to end his own life. The method of death, choking on vomit after an overdose, is messy, uncontrolled, and not guaranteed as a method of suicide, especially for someone with experience of drug use who might be aware of dosages or more, certain methods. That don't even sound like a way you'd want to do it. Like, you can't guarantee it. Overdoses happened a lot in this time, and there was accidental deaths all across the board, and there was times you got sick and probably got out of your system and threw it up, and you got lucky and survived. Pills in the pocket. The report discovered of a full unopened pack of 42 Vesperix tablets in his pocket also works against the suicide theory. If you're going to commit suicide and you have all those pills, you're going to try to take every single one of them. You're not going to have some sitting for tomorrow or the next day or the next week. You're going to do it all in one time. I know a lot of stuff you see on TV, open container bottles, pills here and there, where you poured them out frantically and you dumped them all on your hand and you threw them in your mouth. Not what they seen here. Theory number 3. And this is the most compelling and heavily investigated conspiracies. The theory that Jimi Hendrix was intentionally killed, driven by specific motives supported by key forensic observations. Now, why would somebody want to kill Jimi Hendrix? You've not been listening to me, have you? Because I gave you a couple things that are kind of going on. Like a lot of people, I think Elvis was the same way. He's looking to get away from the thumb that's holding him down.
Right.
He's realizing that he's hemorrhaging money. Other people are profiting off of himself.
He wanted to go solo.
Why not put your future in your own hands?
Right.
And that's what Electric Ladyland would do. Financial greed and control. Jeffrey was a notorious figure in the music industry, widely known for his unscrupulous business practices, including extensive embezzlement from Jimi Hendrix. Hendrix was acutely aware of this and actively planning to fire Jeffrey and reclaim control of his highly lucrative music publishing rights and catalog. It's a lot of freaking money.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen how much...
Was it Taylor Swift that sold her original catalog for or whatever? Do you remember that?
Yeah, and fun fact is that's why she did a lot of the live stuff, was because then she could get the rights back by playing it live.
Exactly.
So the Beatles, how much did Michael Jackson pay for the Beatles?
I forget. Ungodly amount.
It was a crazy amount. So there shouldn't be ever a time that the artist does not own the rights to their music that they created, especially artists that wrote their own stuff and didn't buy the song from a writer. You would think that Jeffrey had embezzled enough money and made enough that he would be okay and just go on to the next person. But losing this catalog and losing this cash cow would take a huge financial loss for Jeffrey. Life insurance policy. The most explosive claim is that Jeffrey had taken out a substantial life insurance policy on Jimi Hendrix, reportedly for $2 million in 1970. I know with your podcast, we do a lot of conversions. I didn't do it. I don't know why.
Let me look that up for you,
but
Dustin.
$2 million in 1970 to 2026, I'm going to guess, is a lot more. Maybe $100 million? Let's see how good I am. Is it $100 million?
I don't know. I got to look it up. Keep going.
I'm waiting on you. Like, I don't want to. We're waiting with bated breath.
Oh, put me on the spot then, right?
And you're slower than I swear you text as slow as my wife.
So you said 2 million, right?
In 1970 to 2026.
1, 2, 3, comma 2. And
you just wrote 2 million.
Calculate. It would be 17,165,979.38.
I like
with a cumulative rate of inflation of 758.3%.
That's a lot. I was hoping maybe 100 million, but 17 million from 2 million. That's a lot of damn money. I wouldn't have to work. That's almost generational wealth.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when you look at the time. And if you invest that right, dude, you're set for life. With himself, so Jeffries was the sole beneficiary. An accidental death would trigger a full payout, whereas a suicide would void it and it would provide a paper trail for financial incentive for murder. Alleged mob ties. Jeffries reportedly had a strong, long-standing connections with the American mafia, partially, I just don't think that. Basically, he had connections to associates within the Genovese crime family. This suggests he had access to individuals capable of carrying out such plots. The confession, James Tappy Wright's account, the most direct accusation came from James Tappy Wright, a former roadie of the Animals, which I don't really know the Animals. I know the Monkeys, but I don't know the Animals. Hey, where are the monkeys?
People say we monkey around.
I was thinking something that had animals in their lyrics. I guess it's just because it's a monkey. Hey, we're just animaling around. That doesn't make sense.
Dear Lord.
They shared a manager like Hendrix with Mike Jeffrey. In his 2009 memoir, Rock Roadie, Wright
Memoir? Is it?
What did I say?
Memoir?
Memoir.
Memoir.
Theater, tomato, potato. It's all the same. Wright claimed that in 1971, Jeffrey, in a drunken state, explicitly confessed to murdering Hendrix. Wright quotes Jeffrey saying, "I had to do it, Tappy. You understand, don't you? I had to do it. You know damn well what I'm talking about. I was in London and I was around Monica's place and I got a hold of some pills and I shoved them all into his mouth and I poured a bottle of red wine down his throat." Jeffrey allegedly followed this with a claim about the insurance policy.
I'm not buying that one. How are you going to just shove him down his throat and have him drink a bottle of wine?
If he's already passed out. I don't know if you can get it down there if it's just going to go, but I don't know. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how we look at this, Jeffrey had an untimely death. Michael Jeffrey died in a mysterious plane crash in 1973, taking any potential confessions or confirmation to his grave, thus making direct corroboration impossible. So then you have the crucial forensic detail, the wine drowning theory. This element is central to the murder theory, providing a physical mechanism for how the death might have occurred intentionally. Evidence of excessive red wine, Dr. John Bannister, the surgeon who attempted to revive Hendrix at St. Mary Abbott's Hospital, stated there was an enormous amount of red wine, pints or bottles worth, not only in his stomach, but also in his lungs and his airways. Ambulance attendant Reg Johnson also reported copious amounts of wine.
So let me ask you this. So let's say he took the pills and he drank a whole bottle of wine.
Now, a bottle of wine is like 23 and some change ounces. It ain't a lot.
I know, but hear me out.
But it tastes like shit.
Hear me out. So he does that. He starts vomiting and he chokes on his own vomit. Was that where they could find wine in his lungs that way too?
So I'm wondering, or that all those pills they shoved down his throat, when he went to puke, it just, made it hard because he was, had all those pills. He had 9 pills. And I'm assuming they're horse pills. So you're choking on them damn pills. Then you vomit. The low blood alcohol content discrepancy, despite a large physical volume of wine in the respiratory system, toxicology reports indicate a remarkably low blood alcohol content. This is the crucial piece of evidence. If a large amount of wine was consumed normally, the alcohol would be absorbed in the bloodstream. If a large amount of wine is consumed, normally the alcohol is absorbed in the bloodstream, raising the blood alcohol content levels. A low blood alcohol content combined with a large physical volume of wine in the lungs suggests the wine was introduced very rapidly and forcibly, without sufficient time for absorption, and likely while Hendrix was already unconscious or severely incapacitated by the sleeping pills. This scenario is highly consistent with a force feeding or waterboarding technique. Imagine being waterboarded with wine. Some people would be in heaven. The liquid poured down the throat of a person unable to resist or swallow, leading to aspiration and drowning. So you're just pouring it. I think it just builds up, and probably as it builds up, overflows into the lungs. That's my theory. He was murdered. They had too much to lose. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be biased. I should finish this thing, but I'm pretty sure I know my answer. The absence of a defensive wound or signs of a struggle suggest Hendrix's body could be explained if he was already unconscious from the pills, making the forced ingestion of the wine a hell of a lot easier. And then you have other potential co-conspirators, his girlfriend, Monica Danneman, given her consistently changing story and her direct involvement in the immediate aftermath. Some speculate she may have been an active accomplice in the murder, or at least complicit in the cover-up, possibly under duress or for other motives. Her eventual suicide in 1996, shortly after losing a major defamation lawsuit related to her claims about Hendrix, added another layer of the tragic complexity, but did not directly clarify his death. Like I said, organized crime. If Jeffries was involved, his mob connections could possibly result in a hit that was ordered or carried out by the underworld associates, perhaps to protect illicit financial investments tied to Hendrix that extend beyond Jeffries himself. So probably a larger, which, as we're recording this, a lot of the stuff with the NASCAR driver Greg Biffle's death, there's a lot of people who may have been in his inner circle that were embezzling from him that he didn't know about. And that's why they broke into his house to cover it up. Maybe some same stuff going on in 1970. Where there's money, there's always a motive. Always a motive. And then you have theory number 4, the government plot. This theory suggests a political assassination was orchestrated by government agencies. If you'd asked me 20 years ago, the government didn't kill him. You ask me now, the government's capable of anything. And they have been since, hell, you pick a time. Like go back 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years. They were capable of it. The FBI's counterintelligence program, active in the mid-1950s and to the early 1970s, aimed to expose, disrupt, misdirect, discredit, and otherwise neutralize domestic political organizations and individuals deemed subversive by the government, often under J. Edgar Hoover's direction. Who did J. Edgar Hoover have it out for? Anybody who was black.
He really had it out for Dillinger, too.
He did. But at this time, it was like people like Hendrix, people like Malcolm X, people like Martin Luther King Jr., Medgar Evers, anybody that was, you know, in these counterculture movements or really looking to be like a black figure was on his radar. You get rid of them, they ain't on your radar no more. Just saying. If you don't know about J. Edgar Hoover, you can find all kinds of crap about him. Cross-dressing, sending MLK letters to tell him to kill himself. Basically on stationary with his, stamp on it. Like it wasn't wrote by J. Edgar Hoover, but it was dictated by somebody to mail it to.
But I don't think Jimi Hendrix has the same sphere of influence as, let's say, Martin Luther King Jr. or Malcolm X.
He didn't, but in the subculture, in that movement that they had in the 1960s and 70s, he was a big name. Is he the biggest? No. Is he a big name? Like, what would happen? It was a different time. It's crazy.
Or did Jimi Hendrix's popularity explode after his death?
He was popular then,
but I mean,
his death,
adds that other layer.
He was a superstar, but I think his death made him a megastar. I think his death, if he lived, he could have done something that maybe made him as big as he is now. He could have done something in this hippie movement and that counterculture world that could have ended his career, just as fast as it created it. We will never know. But I wouldn't put it past Hoover to have something involved in it. This program and the opinions of Dustin Anderson and of those made on Dark Discoveries does not conform with the mission of Dark Discoveries or whatever mumbo jumbo you're supposed to say.
That's why we left the disclaimer in, Dustin, right?
This program notoriously targeted civil rights leaders, like I said, MLK, anti-war activists, black national groups like the Black Panthers. They used methods ranging from psychological warfare and disinformation to illegal surveillance, harassment, and even alleged instigation of violence. Don't put it past him. As a global influential black artist and a counterculture icon, Hendrix demanded immense sway, particularly among young people and the black community. His symbolic performance of the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock was a potent anti-war and anti-established statement. He also expressed support for civil rights movements and reportedly had ties to figures within the Black Panther Party. This profile could have made him a target for surveillance and disruption. I think at the time that, there's so much going on racially right in this time frame. It's super possible. In his FBI file, it is a fact that in his FBI maintained file on Jimi Hendrix, though the publicly available portions are largely pertain to his 1969 drug arrest in Toronto, which some close to him suspect was a setup. His presence at the Woodstock Festival, they're going to talk about that, but a lot of it's still probably redacted. It's not probably been declassified, or it's not been put in there, or it's in a super secret file that's not public. In the late 1960s and early 1970s was a period of immense political paranoia and genuine government infiltration and targeting of their perceived enemies. This environment makes such a theory resonate for those who distrust official narratives. And then you have the strong arguments against the government involvement because of lack of evidence. But if you're doing something off the record, it may not be on the record. There was no direct evidence. Crucially, there was never any declassified government documents, credible whistleblowers, testimonies, or forensic evidence that directly implicate any government agency in Hendrix's death. This remains one of the biggest hurdles in this theory, but if it's something you shouldn't be doing. You probably don't want to leave a paper trail. The other theories, particularly the murder theory involving Michael Jeffries and the wine, offer a more direct, evidence-based, even if disputed, explanations for the circumstances around his death, making a high-level government plot less necessary to explain. And then you have the enduring enigma. The death of Jimi Hendrix remains one of rock music's most debated and perplexing mysteries. The open verdict from the coroner, coupled with Monica Dannemann's wildly inconsistent accounts, the chilling allegations against Michael Jeffrey, including a confession, allegedly, for clear financial motives, and the perplexing forensic details regarding the red wine in his lungs, collectively weave a narrative ripe of suspicion. While the accidental overdose remains the official explanation, the weight of the contradictory evidence and serious accusations have prevented it from being universally accepted. The lack of absolute, irrefutable proof for any single murder theory means the truth of how Jimi Hendrix, how he truly passed, remains elusive. His unparalleled musical legacy endures on, but it will forever be tinged with the profound and unanswered questions surrounding his final tragic curtain call. What do you think? Just an old dirty hippie that overdosed on some sleeping pills?
Probably, but the one thing that I keep coming back to that you said is that his girlfriend at the time changed his clothes.
Says she claims it.
Well, hang on. Let me finish. It's my time to talk.
It's your time to talk? Okay, you were so quiet for so long.
I know.
You wanted to talk.
I'm trying to get my thoughts together. She said she changed his clothes and cleaned him up, right?
Allegedly.
Okay. My mind goes here. So that Michael Jeffries guy, if he did in fact shove the pills down his throat, or if he was unconscious from that and poured all the red wine, what's going to happen? It's going to come out of his mouth. It's going to leak all over his clothes. Okay. And maybe even some throw up or something. Yeah. So my first thought is, if she did change his clothes, did she have the old clothes?
The way they talked, the flat was pretty, didn't look like anything happened.
But I'm saying if she did change the clothes, then where are the clothes?
Yeah.
She didn't go take them to the wash right there.
They've never surfaced as these are Jimi Hendrix's death clothes, and somebody would eventually sell them for money.
So that also makes me think that if she is telling the truth, that also makes me think that he just did overdose and choked on his own vomit. Because if he just choked on his vomit and didn't, or if he was forced to drink more, I think it would leak out onto him, is my theory. And I think that he probably just passed out from the sleeping pills like normal. Because what do you see on all your prescriptions these days? Do not
take with more than two alcoholic beverages.
Right. So I don't know. I'm not a drinker, so I don't know if he did the whole wine bottle, whatever, like he's used to. And Dustin, you're getting older now. I'm getting older, Tal. If we eat past a certain point, you get that acid reflux, and there is nothing like acid reflux, especially like when you're laying in bed and you vomit back up in your mouth and that burning sensation in your mouth. So it's either Michael Jeffries did that and she was a conspirator, or what do you call it?
Co-conspirator?
She helped clean up the evidence because she changed his clothes and probably wiped down whatever Michael Jeffries did. Or that's one theory.
And there's a reason that the crime scene could be so clean.
And my other one,
he's on top of a bed that's made, and there's not any sign of a struggle, any sign.
Yeah, but do we know what time this happened? Like fell asleep or anything?
The accounts changed that.
Right, but I mean, so what's the official time of death? Do we know?
They pronounced him dead. I'd have to go back and look, but it was
Did he die at the hospital or did he die at the?
I think he was already dead at the hospital. I think he was dead on arrival.
But was he dead before he got to the hospital would be the question. Like
I would say
when he went into the apartment, was he already dead?
I would say, given everything going on, that he was dead for at least a few hours because
that's the biggest issue for me. Well, number one, if she did say she changed his clothes, where's the clothes? Where's his old clothes? I want to know. I want to see his old clothes.
I think she was just trying to make excuses to buy time. To why, if they said he looks like he's been dead for
Well, I know, but that's what if I'm the cops, or Scotland Yard, whatever it is over there, that's the number one question I'm asking. Okay, if he changed his clothes,
where are they?
Where are they?
But it's easy to say this is a guy that's known to use drugs and all kinds of drugs, and he's an icon. It's a drug overdose. It's easy to say that, and not to.
And that's what the official. That's the official
because it's easier and it doesn't take. I think it's kind of like I'm not going to say that. Obviously, what we know about Elvis is Colonel Parker didn't physically kill him, but I think a lot of the stress that he was under was
Colonel Parker did kill him
because of Colonel Parker,
right?
Because Elvis realized what was going on, similar to Hendrix, that it's a little different because, we'll get into Elvis eventually. It was a different circumstances, but I think that somebody could not let him go because it was their cash cow. That's my opinion. I think it's a cover-up. And if we can find a payout of $2 million.
So did he get to collect that money?
I didn't.
That's another thing you need to find out.
Like I said, I got to leave a little bit of breadcrumbs for the people who listen who really want to know.
No, we want you to do all your research, Dustin.
I gave them a good story.
So that would be the two things. If I am the cops, I want to know, number one, where is his original clothes that he was in when he threw up and he died and you decided to change his, your bowels fall out and all that, you poop your pants and all that when you die. So I want to see all that. And then I want to see.
Yes. Manager Michael Jeffries held a life insurance policy on the guitarist valued at $2 million in 1970.
He had it, but did he get it? Is there ever...
he had it. It made it look like... Did he get the...
That's what I'm asking. Did he actually get the money? He may have had the policy, but was there circumstantiating evidence that he actually got it?
I'm trying to Google real quick.
That would just be something to think about. Those are the first two things I'm looking at if I'm the police. Number one, clothes. Number two, the payout.
I'm trying to see.
And it's just weird that they would.
It says he admitted it to collect it. So
right, but
I don't know. I don't, like I said, it's the Warner Brothers policy. While some sources suggest Warner Brothers held a substantial insurance policy on Hendrix and received a settlement from Lloyd's of London, there are no documentation evidence that Jeffries was the personal beneficiary of a multi-million-dollar
There you go. So that'd be the second. That'd be the other thing.
But is it worked and worded around to where, because Lloyd's of London, I don't know. That is like one of the. If I was to get insurance, it would be through Lloyd's of London, because if you go back and just Google like Lloyd's of London and look for like professional wrestling payouts, like I know people collected money for stupid things. Like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I have an insurance, but like Kurt Hennig, when he announced he got paid out on a Lloyd's of London payment because they said that he got hurt. I think he had to pay it back to go wrestle again. But there was things that like just dumb stuff, the way they insured things, and they like got the payout from Lloyd's of London. So it's very plausible that he had something orchestrated.
But where was Jimi Hendrix living? Did he live in London?
I think he spent places, time in New York and London.
I know, but did he live here? He
was put in Electric Ladyland in New York.
I know, but where was his place of residency?
I'm going to say he probably split it. I'm going to say half the time was probably here and half was in London.
Well, I'm just saying, where was Michael Jeffries? Was he just following him from town to town? Do you know?
I would say that he probably, probably Colonel Parker, wherever Hendrix was, he probably wasn't far behind.
But I'm sure he wasn't his only client.
Probably not his only client, but probably his biggest.
I don't know.
So the good thing is that's for everybody to decide. Like, that's the great thing about conspiracy is we all have our own theory. We can all pick what we think it is.
Is Jeffries or his girlfriend still alive?
Jeffries died in a plane crash and his girlfriend committed suicide.
Huh. Did she? Or was it
It was a lot later. It was like 96. Like,
Oh,
she was
okay.
older, so
Was it before or after Jeffries died in the plane crash?
Jeffries died like 2 years after.
Oh, okay.
So
after her or after him?
After Hendrix.
Oh,
like
okay.
72 or something like that. So
Okay.
there's nobody left that would be in direct.
Well, unless there's one of them little
Confidence to say
files
something.
tucked away in the Pentagon, you know, and like the
unofficial
X-Files.
The unofficial official.
Right.
Like I said, you don't if you're doing something shady, you ain't gonna keep a record of it.
So this is our first episode of what we're going to call
The 27 Club, not Club 27. Okay, like if you're gonna do it, you got to do the shit right.
Yeah. So Club 27,
You're about to get kicked.
the 27 Club. So we figured we'd kick it off with Jimi Hendrix because we can't think of anybody better to kick it off than him.
And there's so much really good, like so much stuff in music that I'm going to talk about Leonard Skinner just because the amount of music they made in a short time is unparalleled. You know, you've got Brian. There's so many really good stories that ended way too early. Like we did the
Richie Valens.
Richie Valens, like The Ascent. If you haven't listened, go back to the archives and find it.
The Day the Music Died, part 1 and part 2.
Because it's just the trajectory and how fast that Richie Valens shot. Like he surpassed his mentor, like Buddy Holly. Like he was on his way to be bigger than Buddy Holly. All those guys. Like he was going to be the face that probably pushed music to the next generation for at least the next decade or two.
And I personally think that's one of the best episodes we've ever done.
It was good because
It was really good.
because it's one of those. It's a story that's been told, but I don't think it's told enough. It's just there's a lot, you know, just the rise, and there's a lot of musicians that had a quick rise. Janis Joplin wasn't my cup of tea, but what she did, and same thing with like Jim Morrison, it was all unprecedented for the time. And it was, and to think that you have all these people around the same time frame. Like we don't care about Amy Winehouse,
But she is part of the club.
She's on there because she was 27.
Okay.
But you had, you know, just in that time frame, Hendrix, Morrison, and Janis Joplin within a very short time. Like, I think I'd be afraid to be a musician in that time frame. Like, holy crap, I'm 26. I need to get out of this business because I don't want to die. Because it's just, you know, goes back to maybe somebody sell their soul to get that talent. Did somebody go to the crossroads?
Devil went down to Georgia, right?
No, it's in Mississippi.
But the devil did go down.
I thought about taking my guitar and selling my soul to the devil to learn to play guitar. But it's a very busy road now. It's like a 4-lane highway or something. And you just can't stand at the crossroads anymore. Like you'll get hit by a car. And I would be in like the 35 club or whatever it was the first time I went down there.
Well, if you like what you heard, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever get it.
Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. You can rate us. Shoot us an email. Like I said, tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't. But tell us.
At darkdiscoveriespod@gmail.com.
But tell us your musical influences. Who is that person that really made you just have to pick your chin up off the counter and be like, what am I just listening to? Because it's amazing.
Touche. You can join our Facebook group, Dark Discoveries Podcast. But Dustin, I think that was a pretty good first episode for the 27 Club.
I've been sitting on that for a while, and I'm happy to do it. I think that you can see some genuine excitedness in that story from me. I can go off at the notes, and I'm over here looking at you talking, and you're not even paying attention. So.
Oh, I'm paying attention.
But it was fun. That's what this stuff's all about. And if we can spread things that we're passionate about, it may not be something that you are, but it may open your eyes into something different. And that's what this is all about.
And it's always good when there's a little conspiracy involved too, right?
Oh, yes. One of my other passion products has some conspiracies around it.
But anyway, this has been Dark Discoveries, where the deeper you dive,
The more wine it takes.